Air Commodore, taking this conversation forward. As we see this ecosystem developing, as we see more and more articles, research papers, being pushed out, including by Chatham House, what should India's strategy be? What should India's response be? Because this does look like a concerted attempt being made to paint India as an aggressor here.
Absolutely, Shweta. Thank you and Jai Hind for inviting me to this vital discussion with such eminent co-panelists. Let me tell you at the first that this is a diplomatic leverage tool. And the treaty has not been abrogated. It has been suspended till Pakistan credibly and irrevocably abjures its support for cross-border terrorism. So Pakistan has to just leave the path of terrorism and we are back on the table. That is one. Number two, there has been a fundamental change of circumstances. There is an article in the Vienna Convention which clearly states that if there is a fundamental change in the conditions, such as the water stress, or you saw the way Punjab and northern parts of Haryana were affected by floods last year, and there is so much of shortage of water in Punjab and northern parts of Haryana that we actually need to have a revisit to this treaty. And we did request them in 2023 that let us renegotiate. In fact, Pakistan never met the commission since 2022. So it is that Pakistan was not serious till it got affected. Secondly, and very importantly, all treaties and agreements are there when there is friendship, when there is peace, when there is cooperation, and not when a country uses terrorism as a tool to bleed India through 1,000 cuts. So when we are using that tool, it is necessary for us to tell them that you cannot have agreements, even though it was brokered by World Bank 64 years or 64 years back when it was first suspended last year. But at this time, let me just offer my condolences to all the families who have lost their loved ones last year for the heinous act that was carried out by Soleimani and other terror elements which were nurtured, trained, sent, and coordinated, and their actions were being reported there. So we have enough proof to indicate that Pakistan's hand was there. The other issues that come up, and very important issues that come up when we talk of legal conditions, is when we go into any form of negotiations. For example, in the treaty it is written permanent court of arbitration, but in that permanent court of arbitration we need to have parties from both sides. It cannot be that you do it from one side. Fourthly, it is very important to understand that narrative building has been a positive of Pakistan always. After losing the Op Sindoor war, the way they had portrayed as if India had lost the war. And despite all the Western analysts clearly saying that India had caused irrevocable damage to their armed forces. So now when we are looking at all this, probably we also need to look at how to employ our foreign embassies. Since I worked 3 years and I'm very fortunate to see Ambassador Ma'am here in 3 years in Indian embassy in Dhaka. I can tell you that they are very important tool and they do an exceptionally good work. And this is where we need to build our own research papers. This is where we need to build our own diplomatic initiative. Though we did send teams at that time, but this attitude has to be continued forward, especially when we are looking at Sawalkot 1856 megawatt, which we have started with the tendering action after 40 years when Pakistan didn't leave it to happen, or Bursar or Tulbul. We are looking at conditions where we can put Pakistan into an existential threat. Not that we want them to starve, because 90% of their food comes from the Indus Water Treaty Basin, because of the 25% of their GDP comes from there. It is not that we want them to starve, especially when 44% population in Pakistan is virtually on starvation level. But what we are telling them is, look, sit with us after you provide us credible evidence that you are leaving the path of terrorism. My respects again to those families who lost their loved ones.